and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hey Samurai, it's me, RandyXKenshin. I know I've been gone for a while. Sorry for the poor communication. I just can't help it. I'm just a regular guy. To make up for all the time we lost together, I got something special in store for you all. I will drop 100 videos. Yes, you heard me, 100 videos by the end of 2025. Wait, was that? There's only 1 week of the year left? Oh, maybe next year, guys, if I'm still around. But don't worry, I've been working on something behind the scenes. My brand new manga, Randy Legend. About a year ago, YouTube sensation CoryxKenshin announced the release of his brand new series, Monsters We Make. If you're not really into Let's Play channels, you might not have heard of him. Cory is a massive gaming YouTuber with over 23 million subscribers, and he's been in the game for over 16 years now. A thing about Cory is that he's obviously a massive weeb. His entire online persona revolves around samurai, and he'd even go to school to learn Japanese. So it's no shocker that he's interested in anime and manga. He'd take that interest to a whole new level when he created his own original work. But following Volume 1's release, there was a giant dispute online on whether or not Monsters We Make could truly be considered an actual manga. The debate would get so intense that it overshadowed any substantial discussion about the volume itself. Instead of discussing the book's actual content, people debated on whether or not it was a comic or a manga. I feel like the whole controversy distracted people from assessing the quality of the chapters being put out. Comic, manga, graphic novel, the label doesn't really matter. What really matters is if the series was good or not. So, is Monsters We Make a good read?
Fuck no, baby!
Come on, man, you read the title. You knew what my answer was. I was originally going to let the series reach 5 volumes before reviewing it so it could have a fair shot, but Cory has stated that he really wanted actual feedback on his project, and I felt like it was better to express my criticisms now for future improvement. It's already been a year since it was first released. What better time than now to release this video? I've noticed that the people who work on Monsters We Make comment on videos covering it, so there's a good possibility that they might stumble across my video, so I'm gonna tone down my usual snark and try to behave today. Since there's a 90% chance you haven't read a single chapter of Monsters We Make, I'll go ahead and break it down for you. Monsters We Make is set in a cyberpunk dystopian society in the year 2114. The city of New Eden is dominated by the imposing influence of Sonata. Sonata is a massive corporate conglomerate that controls essentially everything, from technology to pharmaceuticals to education and more. The reason why they operate everything is because 17 years ago, a darkness consumed the world and humanity fell into anarchy. People were probably going fucking buck wild, becoming uncivilized animals that only adhered to their own desires. The Sonata Corporation allegedly saved mankind and restored the world back to its original state. So everything's all fine and dandy now, right? Now there's these mutated humans called leakers lurking around, and they're blending into society. These newfound vermin are blatant threats to humanity, but luckily good old Sonata Co has just the right solution for this. Child soldiers. Honestly, I couldn't think of a better plan myself. It's foolproof. Sonata builds New Eden Academy. On the surface, it's just an ordinary school for exceptionally gifted students, but in actuality, it's a facility to recruit teenage soldiers for battle. Enter Jabari Booker, our main lead. He's a prodigy who gets accepted into New Eden Academy for his musical accolades. He's completely unaware of what's really going on at the school until there's a big reveal that he's being selected to fight on the front lines. Well, it would have been a big reveal if it wasn't obvious from the start. Jabari is supposed to be at this school for music, but the entrance exams he takes are all physical assessments. What music student has to take a fitness gram pacer test to get in? I don't think Beethoven was doing that shit. He didn't think it was a little strange that they were analyzing his physical capabilities. The only way the reader wouldn't have seen this coming was if they truly believed Sonata wasn't shady from page 1, which is impossible. You're telling me that the massive corporation that controls every aspect of your life is actually evil? Who would have seen that coming? You could see the twist coming from a mile away, making the story feel predictable, which isn't inherently a bad thing, but in this case it makes it hard for the story to form its own identity. Successful manga typically have some sort of hook to set them apart from their competitors. However, there is nothing here that will appeal to anyone who's accustomed to the dystopian cliches of this genre. To make up for this, you would have to write some really intriguing characters. But they don't. Jabari gets assigned to the Alpha team, where we meet our main cast. The Alpha team is by far the weakest aspect of the series. In storytelling, your main characters must be well defined and fleshed out. Your protagonists need to be dimensional in order to be believable. But the characters here feel a bit derivative and uninspired. Each team member appears to be based on an archetype rather than being fully developed. First impressions are a key defining moment for a character. A character can be instantly revered just by how they're introduced. So I was baffled by how they chose to introduce the leader, Liam. When Jabari is about to enter the school, Liam pops up and pushes him into oncoming traffic for some reason. Then he quote unquote saves his life and has the gall to say, "Was that my fault or yours?" Gee, I don't know, you tell me, pal. It's an interaction that's inconsistent with Liam's character at any other point in the series. He's usually your stoic and mysterious shonen deuteragonist. He doesn't exhibit this sort of behavior ever again, and it's odd. My biggest complaint about the guy is that we don't know much about his relationships and dynamics with the other teammates. He's the leader, you know? It would be nice to see him act as the pillar holding the team up. If he served as an inspiration to look up to for the other members, he would be a lot more endearing. But other than that, Liam's one of the very few characters that are given some depth. Volume 3 is dedicated to Liam and his sad anime backstory. We get some insight on how and why he's at New Eden. It's a whole lot more than what other characters get. Along with Liam, we're introduced to September. She's this sweet, empathetic gal that has a connection with nature. I have two problems with how she's written in the beginning. First is how she doesn't say a word about Liam's little prank in the beginning. I guess this is just something he does all the time. I also don't like how she clearly knows what Jabari is getting himself into, but she doesn't say a word. She gives vague warnings instead of just telling him straight up about the shit that goes down here. Ooh, something bad is gonna happen. There's nothing preventing her from telling him either. She just basically lets him get set up. It's not exactly consistent with her considerate personality. The last thing I wanted to mention is her being Jabari's love interest. It's clear that they're going to develop romantic feelings for each other, and there could potentially be a proper romance here if they nurture their bond well. Allison is a rough and tough tomboy with an attitude. I know some of you niggas had your neurons activate as soon as you heard the word tomboy. Allison and September are supposed to be best friends, but it's not shown much. They don't interact as much as they should. In fact, I'm certain she interacts more with Jabari, and she is Jabari's #1 hater, to the point where it's damn near comical. She has an issue merely being around him. She can't stand his black ass.
Is it because I'm black?
In the first volume, it's hinted that she has like an abusive parent, and I can already assume that she was probably conditioned into having a hard-ass demeanor for her mother's approval, and I'm confident in this assumption because that's typically how this archetype plays out. During the first mission, she gets into a fight with Jabari, and it takes a while for anyone to interfere. Their comrade is trading blows with a guy they just met a few hours ago, but they don't immediately stop it. And it proves my point about the team not really having their connections firmly constructed. And then there's Han. Han is sort of just Han. His personality is fairly boring. He's meant to be like the quirky, nerdy, comedic relief type character, but unfortunately he doesn't have the wit or charm for that character type, so he ends up coming off as a dork. Like his little robot machines are named after Minions characters. I kind of want to shove him into a locker for that. Sometimes they try too hard to make him appear funny when he's not. You have to be a bit careful when writing a character like this, or else the audience may perceive them as cringe. You have to make sure the person writing his lines is naturally funny and charismatic themselves. I feel like his character would be executed a lot better that way. Lastly, we have Jabari himself. His years as a musical savant has given him an enormous ego. He's got the exaggerated swagger of a black teen, and his cockiness can be annoying sometimes. But I'm sure that's an intentional character flaw, and he'll most likely have an arc to learn some humility. My biggest issue with Jabari is that he's way too OP for a newbie. Each member of the team has these super suits. Jabari doesn't get any training or tutorial on how to use the suits, and he's already blasting monsters away when he first appears in one. Even he doesn't know how he's doing that shit. There's no real learning process for his abilities. he for some reason already knows how to fight with no prior experience. For comparison, that would be like Deku already knowing how to control One For All, or Naruto already knowing how to use the Rasengan. It's not rewarding to see him fight on the same level as people more experienced than him. It would be a whole lot more enticing for the audience if they were learning along with him. Jabari is the fish out of water, so it would make more sense if the reader were experiencing things vicariously through him. I hope they improve on writing him like that from here on out. I don't really like using the word generic. It feels like a vague criticism and it fails to articulate the real flaw. But here the word seems appropriate since the character writing is based on recognizable tropes. It's difficult to really analyze any of these characters outside of surface level observations because we don't know much about the main cast. We don't gain much knowledge on the group's dynamics and chemistry. The first mission could have been a perfect opportunity to focus on the main cast's motivations and reasonings for being here. But unfortunately, most of the time isn't spent on this. The rest of the cast isn't much better. In fact, they're way worse. The second volume is centered around a tournament arc. The tournament arc introduces a bunch of nobodies that aren't really plot relevant. That sounds familiar. They solely exist to showcase the different ability variations of the power system. The only notable characters are Rafe and Fane. Rafe feels like Cory's attempt to have a Gaara-like character without fully understanding Gaara's main strengths. And Fane's a Disney Channel bully caricature. The artist even gave him the Chad meme haircut. You would think he was a gag character if he wasn't treated so seriously. I think some of the lines the characters deliver don't feel natural. The dialogue can sometimes be corny and juvenile. There were a few times where I found myself confused at what I just read. Cory is a funny dude, so I was super disappointed that there weren't any funny jokes. I guess it's because there's a difference between having a funny personality and being skilled enough to write funny jokes. The pacing in the story is far too fast. Cory runs into the amateur mistake of wanting to get to the enticing moments as quickly as possible, muddying a lot of the build-up. In order to receive a satisfying payoff, you have to put in the work to properly set things up. Jabari goes on his first mission in volume 1 and then gets into a tournament arc in the very next volume. That's like if Deku got One For All in volume 1 and then fought Todoroki the following volume. You're moving at such a fast rate to get to the hype moments in Aura. You gotta slow down a bit, buddy. Not every arc has to start and end within a single volume. It feels like you're fast forwarding to the good parts and not setting time to build the world and the characters within it. I don't think Cory and the other Cory have much professional writing experience. It seems that they base their storytelling on tropes and commonalities of whatever they read. I don't think they studied the craft of creating actualized characters in a cohesive narrative. I suggest touching up on the fundamentals and working towards perfecting your writing style. Despite all the sales numbers, there's not that many people talking about it. There's very little discussion about it in any manga spaces. Monsters We Make should have a way bigger fan base, but a large portion of Cory's fans just don't seem interested. And sure, some of it is out of spite because Cory keeps leaving to work on it, but after all the initial hype died down, people cared less and less with each installment. There's no active community. Like, the wiki is not even finished. You know it's bad when the wiki isn't even finished. I honestly don't think this manga comic novel would be selling well if Cory's name wasn't attached to it. The reality is that as a massive YouTuber, there will be tons of fans who will buy your product simply because you're associated with it. I myself wouldn't be reading this stuff or making a video on it if Cory wasn't involved. And that's not to discredit his work. He still worked hard to get it made. It's just that most of the fanfare is revolved around you and not the actual product itself. Even the dedicated subreddit's top posts are focused on Cory or buying the book, but not what's inside of it. I saw that they did a fan art competition a while ago where the winners were canonically implemented into the story, and that was a really cool and fun way to build a genuine community. I think they should do more stuff like that to bring people in. Despite all my grievances, I respect the dedication he put into this. Most other people would have given up by now. Cory is a good dude, and he's clearly passionate about this stuff. I support him and his endeavors. The team behind it is also very invested in their work. Even though I think the series is a mediocre read, it could have been way worse. Every other YouTuber manga is more of a gimmick for their brand. This one feels genuine. There's love put into it. I should be worried that there's a possibility Cory might see me shit all over his work, but I doubt it. He'll probably leave for another 9 months by the time this video's out. Typical blacks, am I right?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie. I'll be honest with you guys. I'll be honest with you.